What's up, my friends? Connor Doobie here with the B2B Mentors podcast. Welcome in. Please make sure, number one, you share this. If we bring any value, drop any comments or questions as we're doing the interview after the fact if you'd like. And you can always find B2B Mentors on all your favorite podcast apps. If you want to check out past episodes and subscribe for future episodes, just go in, search B2B Mentors, and you will find it. Please go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review so others can find the show too. And I've got some great content for you today. As always, we're here to bring you top B2B sales strategists, marketing experts, CMOs, CEOs, entrepreneurs in the world of B2B, that is business to business, sales and marketing. So with that, I'm going to bring my dude, Alex, up here. Some people call me the Space Cowboy.
What's
Some
up, bro?
call me the Gangster Love. Some people call me Jay. Some people call me Alex. It just depends if you're my homie.
They do, man. They do. What's going on, brother? It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening.
Dude, days kind of been crazy. I love Mondays. Like I roll into Monday morning just excited about what's gonna come through the week. I've got like my whole week planned out in the weekend, so I just roll in and start hitting it. And it's March, baby. We're the first day of the month we're here. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, me too, brother. I've been hitting it hard today. As COVID is kind of hopefully coming to the end of its season, I'm getting out and about, doing a little bit more traveling. So today was full of travel for me, going to see some clients, socially distanced meetings with face mask, a little different than the norm, right? But I'm just happy to be out and about and be doing it again. And March 1st, so that means sales quotas for March started this weekend, right?
Yeah, buddy. Oh, 100%, 100%. Everything you're doing in the month of March is set up in what you're doing in January and February. Am I wrong?
1,000% correct. 1,000% correct. I mean, it's farming. It's not hunting. A lot of times we want to think we're hunting, but it's farming. It's planting the seeds, cultivating your crop, watering it, making sure it gets the nutrients, and that relationship with your customer is just like that. You're not going to reap the harvest the day that you plant it. So it's working on that months ahead of the time. Sometimes for us salespeople, it's years ahead of time. It is in my business anyway. And I'm a firm believer in cultivating that crop, cultivating those relationships well ahead of time for when it's time to make that harvest.
100%. Now, before we get into the meat, like do everybody a huge favor. Please brag about yourself a little bit. I mean, I think we're pretty similar in age. You're a killer, a sniper, B2B seller. Just talk a little bit about your background, some of your biggest wins, and what led you to where you're at in your life today.
Yeah, perfect, man. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the compliments. That means a lot. So, again, thank you for having me here tonight, and I appreciate everybody who's watching, following, and connect with me on LinkedIn. I look forward to conversation if I can help anybody in any way. So, my name's Jay Alex Lewis. I'm from Eastern North Carolina, born and raised in this region. I've done a lot of different careers, 13 plus years in a professional sales capacity of some sort. I started my career in the finance world. I was a financial advisor. I was an insurance agent. I've been a financial controller. Kind of stumbled into the sales role. It wasn't something that I sought out. I was working with an organization and misfortune took place and they were out of a salesperson. And the owner of the company came to me and said, "Hey, Alex, you sold financial products in the past. Can you sell construction work?" And I said, "Well, we're about to find out, aren't we?" So just kind of fell right into that role and absolutely loved it. Within 6 months, I was given that as my full-time my full-time role with the company, just to manage the sales team and sales operations, make them align with the company goals. And I loved it. I've since left that company and moved to another one. I'm the business development manager for Edwards Incorporated. We're an industrial contracting firm. We play in the Southeast United States, fabricated parts and pieces. Anything cool that deals with metal, we probably touch it. We're a big crane and rigging business and construction, mechanical, electrical. A lot of fun, man. I get to be a part of really cool projects, watching them cradle to grave. Like I said, some of my some of my customers I deal with years before we ever break ground on a project. So it's really cultivating relationships, building relationships, and knowing that they can come to me when they need something, come to our company when they need something. And also, I get to work with our sales team, our other salesmen, and kind of mentor them, help them grow within their role within the company, making sure we're hitting our goals and knocking them out of the park, man. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
You're having fun, and for someone at the age group you're at, you're making good money in the process. I mean,
That's right.
being a top 1%er is incredible. There's only so much to build off of with your experience so far. And, man, the sky's the limit. You're a super smart dude. And I've loved just kind of seeing what you're doing, which I really wanted to talk about too, which, well, first off, how has someone like yourself cultivated such patience for sales? It is very deterring as salespeople, especially when you're doing B2B sales. You have sometimes long sales cycles. I mean, even if it's 3 months, it's like, just trying to get this thing over. It still feels so long. So how have you cultivated that focus and the patience to do what you're doing?
So first off, the check's in the mail for all those kind words that you just said about me, Connor. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. So
you could just either do it in a cooler way, send me a carrier pigeon, or you could just Venmo it. I mean, you can Venmo works.
Yeah, I know a guy with some carrier pigeons. I'll work on that. So, but anyway, I appreciate you, my friend. So yeah, it's sales is a very rewarding career. It's a very rewarding career because one thing, and I've heard you say it before, you create your own destiny. You want to make more money. You want to give yourself a raise, work harder, bring in more deals, do more for your company. And you can do that. And I love being able to have a direct line to the control of the company's destiny and to my income's destiny as well. So for me, patience is key. Patience is a virtue, and it's one that, believe it or not, I don't always have. But I've kind of learned to be a little bit more patient. When you try to force your hand, excuse me, when you try to force your hand, when you try to force a relationship and you try to force a sale, I'm not saying it won't ever happen, but it's not going to happen as often as if you focus on that relationship. So early on in my career, Connor, I was a very aggressive salesperson, and not that I'm not aggressive today, but I focused on closing deals. What can I do to close more deals? And I focused on the deal and not as much on the customer. And so a mentor of mine kind of humbled me at a point, and I told him, I want to close more deals. I want to make more money. I want to make more sales. And he said, well, Alex, what are you going to do that? And I said, I don't know. I'm coming to you. I want your advice. What do I need to do? And he said, well, your approach is all wrong. You need to focus on the relationship. You need to focus on building that relationship with customer, and relationship business is the type of business that my organization is in. Focus on those relationships, focus upon bringing value and overvalue. Bring more value than is asked of you. Bring more value to that customer than they're asking for, even if they're not asking for, and earn their trust. Build a relationship, build a friendship, and you're going to win their business. And it's going to pay off 10x times rather than you just try to force one deal at a time. And so for me, repeat business is everything. Customers coming back and continuously doing business with us is huge within the construction vertical that we play in. And so our company's done a phenomenal job of over delivering when we do get the opportunity to do business there, and bringing in that business for years and years to come. And so if I could give anybody one piece of advice, it would be focus on that relationship, build that relationship first.
I think sellers think they're building the relationship by trying to push themselves through the door to get to the sale, and it has the opposite effect. It's almost like quicksand, right? The more you try to get out of it as a salesperson, the deeper and deeper you sink into no commissionsville and become more desperate. Then your customers smell that you're desperate. Then you're losing more deals, and it's just this disgusting feedback loop that sucks and makes you frustrated as a salesperson. So I think what you're saying is when you're aggressive, it's aggressive about getting to the relationship. Everything else is like a slow burn along the way from there.
Absolutely. It's you need to be intentional. You need to be intentional. That's one of my favorite words to use. Be intentional with your relationships. Be intentional with giving that value. Be intentional with following up on those proposals. Be intentional about letting the customer know you want their business, because if you're not, nobody else is going to do it for you. And being very intentional and strategic with your relationships. I believe that if you want to be somebody, if you want to do business with somebody, one thing that someone told me a long time ago is, all things equal, people do business with their friends. All things unequal, people still try and do business with their friends. So for me, I have one of the greatest jobs in the world because I get paid to make friends with people. And some of my customers have become part of my inner circle of friends because, and that's the exact position that I want to be in. And if you're on the outside, that's the position that they want to be in. And, there's sometimes that I'm on the outside and I want to be in that inner circle of friends. But focus on that relationship and become a confidant to your customer to be able to provide value. If they ever offer you a seat at the table to help advise on the projects they're doing or what's going on, what issues and pain points they have in your life, that's when you're starting to win. And you're going to see an overwhelming amount of opportunity, and it's going to change. It'll change your business. I promise.
I totally agree with that. And I think sellers jump too quickly to try to monetize that, right? Like you finally get the trust and then someone's like, hey, would you provide me a little opinion on this? And then they just immediately try to close the deal or throw a sale. Like, I would say probably something that's been successful for you, I know for me, is doing a good chunk of work for free in the very beginning, free information, free value, free relationship, acting as a true consultant, and then the money will come.
I couldn't agree with you more, Connor. That's a lot of wisdom in what you just said.
So you've been mentoring a team of sellers currently, and what are the biggest mistakes? Like, what are you finding they're doing and some of the biggest hurdles? And besides, obviously not being patient enough, not building the relationship and be as granular as possible. Strategically, what are the biggest mistakes you're seeing other B2B sellers make?
Yeah, I'm fortunate to be a part of a couple of different groups, one within my organization and then some externally from Edwards, where we get to just, iron sharpens iron. And I believe you can learn something from everybody. And I want to always embrace other people, what they're doing, what's working for them, what's not. One of the biggest things that I do see on the day-to-day is that people try to, get their name on a bid list or just find an opportunity and throw a proposal out there. And that's kind of back to what we were saying from the beginning is, if you don't have any existing relationship before that and you just got your name on a bid list, that's cool. You got your name on a bid list, but they don't know anything about Connor. They don't know anything about Alex and the company you're representing, the flag that you're flying. You got on a bid list. You're just going to be throwing a dart at a dartboard and hoping that it hits. But the chances of it hitting are not going to be very good. So I think a lot of sellers that I deal with in a similar space to me, they focus on getting on a bid list and they focused on, hey, I've won the battle. I got on a bid list. Well, that's only a very small, minute portion of what you're trying to accomplish here. Not just being on a bid list, not getting an opportunity, but it's, if you're the first you're learning of a project is when the RFP comes out or into your inbox or is handed to you, then you're probably miles behind your competition. Because your competition has helped them draft their plan for doing business. They've helped them draft that RFP and maybe even wrote it. They may have even wrote that RFP. And now the customer, just out of obligation because of a corporate structure, is now going to send it out to other people. And your bid is, it's going to be more of a gauge for where the pricing of the market is, but they're never really going to be considering it. Not always, but I would say 90% of the time that is the case.
Would you rather be the best closer in the world or be the best prospector in the world? In other words, would you rather be extremely great at filling your pipeline, or would you rather be great at being a super closer?
So that's a phenomenal question.
And you can't say both.
Okay. That's a phenomenal question. So I believe that if you overqualify and you really focus on the front end, to the back end is inevitable, that it will come. So I would say the front. I would say that your prospecting is key, because if you align yourself with the right customers, the ones that really fit with your organization, they fit with you as a person, then when it comes down to making the deal happen, it's going to be easy. It's not going to be, I'm not going to say it's a cakewalk, but it's going to be a lot easier than if you were trying to force a deal through. I've seen really good closers. In fact, I work with some really great closers, and have worked with great closers over the years. And great closers can sell anything one time. But you want the repetitive business. You want the repeat business. You want that customer coming back, and you want them to, value your relationship. You want them to come to Connor and say, "Hey, I appreciate the last project you did, Connor, but I want your opinion. We're in my space. I'm thinking construction. We're about to expand our facility, but Connor, you helped us on the last project. What do you think we should do here? Can you come to this meeting with us? Can you help us plan our work and work our plan?" And when you get to that level, you've overqualified. You've established yourself as an authority in that space. The closing part just is going to come second nature. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me, man. It makes sense to me. So what have you done specifically to be successful at filling the top of the funnel, filling the top of the pipeline?
Always be closing is what people say all the time. Always be qualifying. Always be prospecting. I am continuously prospecting. I'm looking for not the next deal. I'm looking for the next 30 opportunities at a time, 50 opportunities at a time. Information is king in my world in construction. Knowing what projects and opportunities are on the horizon, knowing which customers have involvement with certain projects is everything. So networking and overqualifying and continuously finding opportunities is the way to do that. You can leverage one really cool tool that I know you and I use a lot. We're streaming on there now, but LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is an undervalued tool that people have in their pocket, in their tool bag, and they don't dip into it for what it's worth. With just this here, with your cell phone, you have access to the top level of decision makers within the organization. And you're like, well, Alex, I've got to get them to answer me if I could find them. Well, one, you found them. That's the first step. You can do that through LinkedIn. You can find out who the decision makers are, who the players are. And I have tremendous success reaching directly out to people with messaging on LinkedIn. And
so LinkedIn's your number one lead generation source. Is that what you're saying?
Relationships first. Existing relationships.
Network, referrals.
That's right.
Let's talk about cold prospecting.
Okay. LinkedIn is definitely number one for cold prospecting.
Really? Okay. And who are you typically reaching out to on LinkedIn?
So for me, in the vertical that we play in, engineers, because engineers are normally brought in on a project before a contractor is. And so sometimes it's the customer, the owner of the company. We work in the pharmaceutical vertical as well as in power generation. Sometimes those people will bring us in, for guidance and on projects to come. But a lot of times it's either owner direct, it's engineering groups, CM firms, and other contractors and GCs that play in that space. So it's a lot of different moving parts and pieces. So it's not an easy button that I could go in and say, every company I'm going to call this position and this person. It varies from project to project, but that's also what makes it fun, is figuring out which puzzle pieces fit together and putting the puzzle pieces together to get the information that you're seeking to hopefully get you an opportunity.
Such a great case study. I know so many marketers, sellers in selling to almost the exact same verticals that you are, the same industries, and they're so resistant to LinkedIn still. The quote is, my business doesn't work like that. We do everything through relationships. It's like, well, dude, I mean, listen to Alex. Like, he's talking to engineers. These are complex sales. You're selling high, 5, 6, probably 7-figure deals. And you're obviously not going to sell directly on LinkedIn, but you're using it as a gateway to the relationship, right?
Ding, ding.
So touch on that a bit. What specifically, someone else who's listening to this, what steps could they follow that you've already paved the path for to get new relationships in the markets that you're talking to?
Almost like skipping steps for success, Connor.
Almost very similar to that. Yes. We're speaking the same lingo.
Selfless plug there for the podcast I'm kicking off with a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
But absolutely. So LinkedIn, and I've fought this battle internally and externally with other people, and do every day. I am not going to get a PO. Most likely, it has happened, but most likely I'm not going to get a PO through a direct message on LinkedIn. I'm not going to message one person one time and get an opportunity just handed to me because I did such a great job of sending a message. No, that's not the case. But it is a tool to leverage, to make connections, to start a conversation. I was told early on in my career when I was in the financial advising industry that my job is to sell an appointment first. And somebody wants to buy from me, they've got to know who I am. They've got to know who I am. They've got to know what services I offer and how to get in touch with me. And then fourth, I've got to get that appointment to have conversation with them. So LinkedIn, if you're not self-branding and putting content about who you are as a person on LinkedIn consistently.
Self-branding as in personal branding.
Personal brand. That's right. Your personal brand is along with your brand for the flag that you're flying, the company that you represent. If you're putting consistent content on LinkedIn, people are going to have visibility to you. And don't think that your customers aren't looking you up on LinkedIn when they've got 4 emails from you and haven't called you back. They've probably looked you up on LinkedIn and they saw that this Connor guy, he's got a profile. He has like 200 friends here. I don't see any content from him. He's telling me on this voicemail he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I'm not seeing it here. Well, customers 1,000% are going to look you up on LinkedIn. They're going to Google your name, and when you Google my name, my LinkedIn profile comes up. Then you can see the content that I'm putting out. Then you can see the profile, my company that I'm flying the flag for, that I'm representing, what we do. And they're like, oh, it makes sense. Now I know why he wants to talk to me. I'm intrigued. I want to continue that conversation. So secondly, if you're reaching out to people, people always say to me, well, Alex, I reached out. They're not interested. Well, maybe you're not interesting. If you're not interesting in your approach to the way to talk to that person, they're not going to be interested in talking to you. And so I think a lot of people selfishly throw up on people because they think their first message should be, hey, I got to tell them everything about what we do as a company and everything that we can do to help them and their organization. And that's certainly not the case. You should focus on like, hey, we're in a similar space. We're in a similar industry. Your company is a priority or a top tier company in your vertical. I'd love to learn a little bit more about your company and what you do in your organization. And then I'd love to tell you a little bit about mine and see if there's any synergy. But more importantly, I'd love to learn more about you. And when you do that, you're going to get a much better response than somebody saying, hey, I can better your processes. I can improve your construction flow of your next project, or I can build your next widget that you're looking for, versus working on that relationship first. So you leverage LinkedIn to showcase who you are as an individual, who the company that you're working for. Be interesting, make people interested enough to follow up with you and continue a conversation. And then be intentional with your messaging and send those messages directly to the right people. You can kind of skip some steps in the process by targeting who you're talking to.
Dropping bomb. And something you touched on too, which I think is important, whether you are still doing traditional prospecting, cold calling, emailing, you're out in person meeting people.
Sure.
They're going to look you up online. Like there's more than enough stats to go validate the fact that people are looking you up. If you're trying to get your foot in the door and you're, caught a slight bit of attention, they're going to look you up. So you got to have yourself set up and positioned for success. And the way that Alex is talking about your branding, your content, and all the great things that you're doing. And with that, I mean, you just have days of stuff that you share on LinkedIn. Is there anything else just while we're here now, as we're winding down, that's actionable, helpful, and people can take away from this podcast?
Sure, certainly. I will. since we're on the LinkedIn banter right now, I'll kind of continue it for my points. So I was a big baseball card collector growing up. Love baseball cards, still do to this day. Still dabbling in the baseball cards. Yeah, I'm a big dork when it comes to that. But think of LinkedIn as your personal baseball card. LinkedIn is where you can showcase your stats, who you are, and why people should be interested in you. And how you do that is putting out consistent content of what you do, what your organization does, and how your products and services can help others. There's a section on LinkedIn for referrals. And if you can get your customers to write you referrals, then what better ticket to get somebody to read a customer's testimonial about how good of a job that you did helping them. If I read that, if I'm on somebody's LinkedIn page who's contacting me for, maybe it's a CRM service, and I go and I look at their referral page and they have 0 referrals, I'm like, well, is this guy really good at what he does? Is this company really good? Versus the guy who contacted me, who I go look at it, and he's got 30 recommendations from his customers. I'm like, you know what? There's some merit to this guy. There's something to this. So update your baseball card being LinkedIn. Make sure it's got content that is relevant and what you want your customers to know about you, and make sure you use that. The second piece that I'll leave with is the messenger feature on LinkedIn. I send emails, and I still send emails every day. Emails is an important part of business. It'll never go away from here. But the messenger feature on LinkedIn is a tool to reach people a lot quicker than you would ever imagine. Because emails are so common, your inbox with emails just gets blown up. Think about the decision makers in a company. They're probably getting hundreds, if not thousands, of emails a day. So your one email that falls in between 30 or 40 other ones, it's not going to stand out as much as a message on LinkedIn, because other people aren't sending messages to that person on LinkedIn. Right then and there, your message is going to stand out. But 2, you could be different. You can stand out by sending video messages, which I know Connor is phenomenal at sending video messages. I mean, how personable can you be other than sending a video? They get to see who the real you is. Your personality can shine, as well as your knowledge and what you can bring to the table in a video. For me, I use voice messages just as much as I use video messages too, because voice resonates. It's a powerful thing. Just like we're seeing Clubhouse just take off exponentially right now. Voice resonates with people. You can hear the emotion in my voice. You can hear my passion about talking about sales, because I absolutely love it. And when you leave that message in that form on LinkedIn, it's going to stand out. It's going to be different, and you're going to get a lot more wins, and you're going to get on base a lot more.
Beautiful. How can people find you, follow you, get into contact with you?
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Look me up on LinkedIn. That is my jam. I love LinkedIn. J. Alex Lewis, the letter J. Alex Lewis on LinkedIn. Shoot me a message, send me a connection request. If I can help you in any way, I'd be glad to. And I appreciate it, guys.
Beautiful. Thanks for being here, brother. Great to see you as always. Some just fire, just dropping bombs over here. So I thought that was great. Stick around for just 1 second, my friend. And the rest of you here watching this after the fact, watching this now, please, again, make sure you subscribe on all your favorite podcast apps. Leave a 5-star review so others can find the show too. Make sure you hit up my boy, Alex. And with that, guys, I'll see you on the other side.